I'm the publisher of Melville House, and we're going to be talking today about new media and independent voices, but first I have some statements that I have to read to you. The Brooklyn Book Festival is presented by Borough President Marty Markowitz. The festival gratefully acknowledges our partners and supporters, the New York City Department of Parks and Recreation, NYC and Company, the Department of Cultural Affairs, Target, Astoria Federal Bank, Boar's Head Provisions, Citibank, the Downtown Brooklyn Partnership, the Brooklyn Community Foundation, the Marriott Hotel, and our partner, our media partner, Time Out New York Kids. Okay, this program is an entirely different set of notes. Here's how it was described. Radical radio, insurgent zines, the Fourth Estate, and social networks, old and new. Who and what is the independent media? Voices that stand out from the crowd or defenders of a new way of thinking? That's what we're going to be talking about right here. On the panel, we have, sitting immediately to my right, Amy Goodman, the host and executive producer of Democracy Now! And because clearly you don't know about her, I'm going to read the rest of this description. That's a national daily independent award-winning news program airing on over 750, this number goes up every time I check it out, TV and radio stations in North America. I'm just back from Australia, where everybody was talking to me about listening to her down there. So clearly it's an even bigger number than this. She has received numerous awards for her work, including the George Polk Award, the Robert F. Kennedy Prize for International Reporting, and awards from the Associated Press, United Press International, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. It's a long list. She is the co-author, as this is a book festival, I should stress this, with her brother, David Goodman, of 3 New York Times bestsellers. The Exception to the Rulers, Exposing Oily Politicians, War Profiteers, and the Media That Love Them, Static, Government Liars, Media Cheerleaders, and the People Who Fight Back, and Standing Up to the Madness, Ordinary Heroes in Extraordinary Times. Also on our panel, next to Amy, Pamela Newkirk, Associate Professor of Journalism at NYU, where she is the director of the Urban Journalism Workshop. She is the editor of Letters from Black America and author of Within the Veil, Black Journalist, White Media, which won the 2001 National Press Club Award for Media Criticism. She was also part of a team that won the Pulitzer Prize for spot news reporting in 1992 when she was a reporter at Newsday. And finally, just added to the panel, and I'm glad he was, is my very good friend Richard Nash, who is the former publisher, perhaps his best known role so far, of Soft Skull Press, the great Brooklyn independent. And he is now one of the people charting a totally new kind of company to take book publishing into its very mysterious future. And Richard, I think I will start with you. You're a great example of an independent voice, and now you're taking it into new media. What is the new company you're forming, and how does it kind of show off your thoughts on that?
Well, effectively, I wrote a few weeks ago, I wrote a deliberately provocative, somewhat tongue-in-cheek essay that argued that basically indie was dead. Indie was dead, in fact, because it had won. By indie, I meant the notion of seizing the means of production, which was the original move in analog media, whether it was what desktop publishing allowed publishing to be something more than just a corporate activity, low-watt radio, handheld video camera, the 1990s revolution that allowed far more people to participate in the media and resulted in a lot more progressive voices being able to articulate and find the audience that was already there. And effectively, the internet has made that seizing of the means of production almost irrelevant, because the means of production and distribution are now available to any individual with a computer, which is not to say that it is for every individual. The digital divide is certainly with us, but the digital divide is a lot narrower than the analog divide. The amount of money it cost to print a book 20 years ago would buy you 40 halfway decent computers today. So what I'm looking to try to decipher for writers and readers is what the implications of the means of production descending down to the individual, and basically speaking, what I'm trying to do is create systems that allow readers to find writers who have taken the means of production, who have basically taken their own voice and made their own voice a publisher.
Well, Pamela, a lot of American journalism, it seems to me, started with, well, the country started with a book by Tom Paine, in a lot of ways, called Common Sense, that was a kind of journalism that I think was relatively new at the time, and it was basically a letter to the readers. It was very personal, very chatty, very gabby, as well as doing a lot of reportage. And I think this is something that American journalism has preserved, and it makes it rather different from other countries' version. And your new book seems to me to be, in a way, doing the same thing. Your most recent book, which is Letters from Black America. And I'm wondering, in this new media, do you see, this kind of personal address to an audience maintaining? And also, do you see, now I'm thinking of an article you wrote about Guess Who's Leaving the Newsroom, do you see a place for people of color in that new media?
Well, of course, people of color have always been marginalized by the mainstream media. And I argue in my first book that the black press was perhaps the first form of serious and sustained media criticism, because much of it was aimed at looking at issues that were not illuminated by the mainstream press. And yes, with the quickening demise of the mainstream, there are some hopeful signs that, you know, there's greater democratization of the media. But one of the things that I still find disturbing is that we also have a more balkanized media, where many had hoped that the mainstream would find room for a diversity of opinion. We have, the resistance in the mainstream, and also a very balkanized media where everyone is talking to people about things they already know. People are just agreeing with each other, and I don't know how much we're really learning from the media. The media still holds the greatest promise to bring us to the shared ideals of this country, and I'm not certain that with this growing balkanization we're getting where we need to be. I'm not certain that you know, with more voices we have greater clarity. So I'm concerned about a number of things. One is the balkanization. Two, the resistance of the mainstream to bring in more diversity of opinions. And I don't just mean having more people who look different, but having more people who think differently. And I'm also concerned about this brave new world where you have all of these blogs and all of these new media outlets cropping up that are not doing real reporting. I don't see with these new media, I don't see better journalism. And I think that's something we need to be concerned about. Spouting an opinion is not journalism.